There we go. Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler's WPblab episode number 123. Episode number 123. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing featured images, and not just for blogs.
This episode's live stream is brought to you by WordPress, makers of desktop server and so many more plugins. If you want to know more about them, go to WordPress.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Bridget. Bridget, tell us about yourself.
Oh, back in the day, I wanted to be a DJ. I think it was from watching WKRP in Cincinnati. WKRP in Cincinnati. Spinning the hits. And so now I'm on a podcast with you since October of 2015. Spend my Thursday nights with the folks out here in WordPress land, spinning the marketing tips, more than you could take, more than you want, but 45 minutes until we give you our tool or tip of the week. I can be found marketing myself all over the internet, but mostly at bridgetwiller.com, where I'm testing out one of my clients' plugins called Happity. It's a live streaming situation, and oh my God, I'm in love with it. I know that they pay me to be happy with it, and I've basically been doing a lot of beta testing, but as a blogger who just wants to get something on the internet and move on with my life, it's awesome.
So would you say that you're happy with it?
I am very happy with happity.com, live streaming to your WordPress blog. Free.
See, here's the thing. You become a client of Bridget's and you also become a sponsor of the show. It just happens.
Because I can't stop, okay? I actually sent them a voice message on WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is our Slack, because they're in England. And I was like, oh my God, I know you guys pay me to do this, but like, this is awesome. There's like, okay, so before I used to like be on YouTube Creator Studio, record my video, get the link, use the WordPress app that only works with Jetpack, then log on, like doing this on my phone and whatever. I just had a thought. You know how you're like, you just have a thought, you just want to get it out and move on with your life. Like, we have work to do. You have work to do. I have work to do. I don't have time for this crap. Also, don't want Jetpack. Don't have the WordPress app. Don't want it. Okay, so all I do is open the Happity app on my phone, blah, 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 into the video thing, write the description, press send to Twitter. It's a blog post. Okay, I don't have to worry about it.
Nice.
Done.
That's
okay?
Cool.
And there were certain things that were irritating the crap out of me before. So before I would tell anybody about it. So some things are fixed. But oh my gosh, like today, I did this experiment today, right? I always tell people, don't share everything in the same place at the same time. But if you do, change it up, right?
Oh, yeah.
One with the Happity for my blog. Then I did a landscape for LinkedIn that's longer. Then I did Instagram Live with like way more snarkiness and like, come on, people. You can't just upload stuff to the WordPress repository and think people are going to download it. It doesn't work like that anymore. You're not going to become Yoast SEO. And then I made just a little quick one on Instagram. And it was all basically the same thing, but it wasn't the same video. And I think that when you take marketing as a whole and think of these channels as a whole strategy for our warfare tactics, you know, of course, we want to win the ground. Right? If you think about it like World War II, you had somebody in England, you had several fronts, right? That was the whole problem with Germany. Germany's fighting the Russians or the Soviets at that time, and they were fighting the Allies. So they had a double front war. And then also there was all this stuff going on in Africa, right? So, you know, but even with the Battle of the Bulge, they were like, there's no way we could help these guys. And Patton said, yeah, we can do it. And so they just started marching, and that's why they were there. Sometimes you like have to trust the people that are on the ground to know what the actual tactics are. So I'm a marketing consultant who's more like General Patton. I'm in the trenches doing the tactics. And clearly I was married to a history buff for way too long. That was a really long introduction. Hey, everybody, I'm Bridget Willer. You can find me on bridgetwiller.com.
I love it, Bridget. I love it. I'm Jason Tucker. I am not a history buff, and I'm not going to tell you anything about what happened in history, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Go over to my website over jasontucker.blog. And that's where I write about all this sort of stuff. I work in IT and I do IT work over at a church. And so I manage all those fun things. And so, yeah, feel free to go take a look at that.
No, but for real, before we get into our like topic, tell them a little bit about your gig economy posts.
Oh yeah, sure. So it started out on Facebook. So what I was doing on Facebook is, and this always happens on Facebook. And we even had a discussion about this with Meg yesterday about posting stuff on Facebook. So I write long form content on Facebook, and I do it more, at least when I first started, I wanted to be attractive enough by writing the stuff that's not that there's nothing like crazy happening, but I just don't want to like leak out something on accident and be like, this new movie just came out and one of the people in the movie are, one of my writers, or this, the scandal happened and this happened. Like there's all those sorts of things. I just don't want to get in trouble. So I was like, okay, I'll only post this stuff just on Facebook. And my Facebook's friends only and blah, 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 all that stuff. So I ended up going through and cleaning up all that information that's in there and just kind of reread everything. And I've talked about this in previous episodes, so feel free to go dig back in our archives where we've kind of discussed this. But I write in long form and I just I record what I'm saying and then it just gets transcribed. And so on Facebook, I would write this stuff. And now I was like, I want to put this on my website. So I built a custom post type called Gig Economy, threw all my stuff in the custom post type and just kind of separated it out from the rest of the posts on the site and made it so that, people can enjoy the content that I'm writing. And so with my Gig Economy stuff, it's me writing about what I'm doing while I'm driving for Lyft. So I drive for Lyft, and I actually tonight, right after the show, I'm going to go out and drive for Lyft for a couple hours. And it's just one of those fun things for me. I mean, I'm stuck in front of a computer all day long, and now being able to get in a car and drive around and talk to perfect strangers and get them to their destination is fun. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, the last two posts you wrote were like products I use while I'm driving and software I use or apps.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked how you're distinguishing that. And
yeah,
it was kind of interesting because I was having this talk with Dwayne when I was having my little darkness. That line in Sound of Silence, hello darkness, my old friend, never really came to be so real until after my dog died. And I realized, there's this family portrait of me, my husband, and my two dogs, and they're all dead. Like, it sounds so terrible, but I'm like, it's true. My whole family died, right? And it was all like, they were all, it sounds horrible to say it that way, but that's really what happened. So I have to get thankful. Like, I have to rustle up my thankfulness. Like, I was there when everyone took their last breath. They were way at the end of their life. There was no tragic part, but like, there's these moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I need like something to do, because it's weird. I'm used to spending time taking care of my dog. And so Dwayne was saying, from Pantheon, not a sponsor. Hi, Roy. Happy birthday, Ben. So Dwayne was saying, you need a creative hobby. And so he started this thing where he was writing poetry. And then I am interpreting it. And the website's called SeeDiffs, SeeDiff.com. And so it's all done on GitHub. And there's another one up there that I need to interpret. And so you see his version, you see my version, and the difference is what is published on the website. But then I thought, he said to me, Bridget, be careful about having a hobby that's too close to what you do. And I do right? So I've been getting these flowers from enjoyflowers.com, which is also not a sponsor.
Come on, people, hire her.
But I arranged them today and I had so much fun. And I was clipping them and I just felt like I had this little Martha Stewart moment. And I thought, this is what Dwayne was talking about. So like when you go out and do your driving, you're making money. It's like, but still it's like leaving that normal, this machine, with all the keys. Right. It's so important. And not just that, but like when I go out with my friends doing karaoke and everything, you get to be with the real world. It's like we talked about last week with the ridiculousness of Hennessy's and their branding that's wrong, which is segues into our topic, right? So you have all okay, so maybe even 10 years ago, things were really difficult. And I was actually looking at my Facebook memories, Jason, because I said on Facebook, I'm learning how to use WIMP GIF or WIMP GIMP.
Yeah.
Trying to learn how to use GIMP so I can make a featured image.
Whew.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah.
Or somebody like me who doesn't know anything about layers or Photoshop or Adobe Creative. And look, I'm the person who has always been able to sit down at a machine and figure it out.
Yeah.
Always. No instructions, no reading ever. I don't Photoshop, I'm sorry. Like, you're from another planet, right? So like not that long ago, I'm trying to learn GIMP. And then here, all of a sudden, here comes Canva, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to any social media manager, right? So now I feel like, even though every company, bigger companies have resources with graphic designers, and in a lot of ways, we're not thinking image first. You know, when we design websites, now we're trying to shift that thinking into, let's think mobile first. But the conversations you and I are having, because I'm on the end of, okay, you guys made this website, you made this page, you're giving it to me, I'm posting on the internet. Good God, this looks horrible, right?
Yeah.
Now what? I'm
Now
just the social media person, right? So let's talk about like images. They're just more than just for blog posts. Like,
sure. Yeah. So you know, when I'm building these out, so for instance, I use my biggest client, which is WPwatercooler. So I'm using this, and I'll tell you exactly what I do and how I do it. How about that? Which is, you know, pretty unique to this space. So the idea is that I want to have a couple different images. I need an image that is my featured image on WordPress, and that's built into WordPress. You can use this on WordPress.com. Featured image, done. Now, once you go further from that, you need to have either a plugin or something like that, and you're actually doing a self-hosted thing. The plugin that I use in particular, and I think you started using it as well, is Mash Share. And Mash Share, Mashare, Mash Share. And what it is it's from Mashable. So Mashable had this idea of using, it's not from Mashable, but they stole like the kind of look and feel of the Mashable share buttons. And so what this thing does is it makes it so that you can have the share button show up on your website. Cool. There's a whole bunch of those plugins that are out there. But what's really interesting about it is that it gives you the ability to have an additional meta box on your editing, the editing page, post editing page on WordPress.
The pro version?
No, I have just the free version. Yeah, I think so. So you turn this thing on and you get this additional box, and the box lets you add Facebook information as well as Pinterest information. And it also gives you Twitter, and there's a couple other little bits and pieces in there. So what you can do is you put in your Twitter information, so the title as well as the description, and then it gives you a box that tells you here's what the dimensions need to be for this image to stick it in there. And then it'll show you in the correct dimensions and everything what that thing looks like. You scroll down a little bit further, and there's a really tall one that's sitting there. And guess what that one's for? Pinterest. So if you go look at this particular episode, episode number 123 of WPblab, and you share it on Pinterest, no joke, it will show you a Pinterest version of this particular, that image that's made for Pinterest. So what I do when I'm building this stuff for WPblab at least is I'll use Canva. I'll go into Canva and I'll select the one that's made for YouTube. And so since we're primarily a YouTube show that also pushes stuff out to everybody else, the YouTube stuff's the kind of the recording of record. It's the one that I'm going to share with other people. The stuff that happens on Facebook, that's an after fact. The thing that happens on Twitter just happens because it happens. We put it on Twitch because we put it on Twitch. Those places, we're not really promoting those things. It's just if you happen upon them, you'll be able to see this stuff. So we want Facebook to look good, but we want Twitter to look good, but we really want to have YouTube look the best because that's our promotable. That's the thing that we're going to send out and say, hey, here's the link, go check it out. So in Canva, I'll select for YouTube, and YouTube gives you a 16:9, kind of long box. Looks just like the video that you're watching right now. And that's what gets replaced before you actually hit the play button on YouTube. So I'll create that. And the first thing I do before I do anything else is I make a square. And I put the square in the center of the screen, and I fill the entire screen. And on Canva, it's the coolest thing ever. And it makes it so that if you're not a designer, this is like the best thing for you, is you grab that square and you move it towards the middle of it, and it'll put line markers in the middle, and you're dead center in the middle of this thing.
I love it.
So why am I putting a square in the middle of the screen? Well, that square is not going to be there forever. I'm going to leave it there for just a little bit, but that square is my bounding box around the content that I'm going to put in there. So anything that's to the left or to the right of that image. So if I'm looking at the image right now, let's see right here. Yeah, this image right here. Anything on the left, anything on the right, I don't care about that stuff. That's extra. I'm not putting anything important in those areas. I'm only putting stuff in the center of that square. So the reason why I'm doing this is because YouTube stuff gets shared on Twitter. YouTube stuff gets shared on Facebook. YouTube stuff gets shared on all these other social media platforms that are out there. And some of them may make it square. Some of them may make it square-ish. Some of it may mess with it. And so what I don't want to have is have a bunch of text going across the whole screen, and then that text gets cut off on both sides. And I see YouTubers all the time do this stuff, knowing they probably don't even realize that they're doing it, but they also, if they're a huge YouTuber, they don't care anyhow. They're just going to throw their stuff out there, and they only get one image to put in there, and that's it. And that's that one image. So once I'm done with all of that inside Canva, I'll make a duplicate of it. So I go up there and I click on the copy command, and then it'll ask me, what do I want to copy with? And I'll tell it I want to make one for Facebook. So when I make one for Facebook, it's now square-ish. So that square-ish image now, the bounding box kind of changes a little bit, but at least I know roughly how much I can have in there. Now with Facebook, no one's sharing Facebook stuff elsewhere. Facebook shares with Facebook. Now they can share it, but it's square, so you're fine, right? Same with Twitter. That Twitter stuff, you're going to make a Twitter-sized image and stick that on there. And with Pinterest, I'm going to make a Pinterest-sized image, and I'm going to put the majority of the text in the center of it. So now I'm done. I have 4 images: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Pinterest. And those images are all sized correctly because Canva does the sizing for you. So you don't have to worry about any of the dimensions or anything. And then I just save it as a JPEG, and now I have an image. Then I can put those images and put them into mass share on my Facebook, or I'm sorry, on my my WordPress site, and you'll be able to kind of see them being used in that place. It also goes and adds all the additional metadata to the post itself. So it'll have, the OG image, which is what Open Graph uses to determine what the image is. That's going to be that top image on the top there. It's going to pass the information to Facebook or to Pinterest. So you'll have the Pinterest version of the image. And then whenever I post anything on Twitter, I just include the Twitter image in there and use the link. You can use the stuff that Twitter does itself by kind of looking at the Twitter card and figuring out what the image is going to look like. It's really up to you how you want to do that. Just like how Bridget, when she does her retweets, she does old school retweets. For me, I want to make sure that image is as big as possible, and I want it to look good. So I'll kind of mix that in there with using an organic image that I've made versus the one that comes off the Twitter card. So I think that covers that part of it, right?
Yeah. So just a couple of notes here.
Yeah.
Now, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook all have scrapers, but they mostly defer to Facebook's Open Graph. Facebook's Open Graph is like the SEO for image for social media.
Yeah.
Okay, so folks at home, if you say Jason's crazy, I'm not doing all that, then just do one that's 1200 by 628.
Yep.
1200 by 628 is Facebook's dimensions, and that will work everywhere else. But this is the caveat: if you plan on using the featured image for your blog post, for your web page, for your landing page, and you want to boost that ad on Facebook, there must be less than 20% of the area using text, or they will not allow you to boost your ad. Also, they will not allow you to use cuss words, because I tried it. I said, what the H is a branding person. That did not work. Okay. Right. So less than 20% of the area for text if you want to be able to boost that post. Don't forget that.
Yeah, and what's nice about
628.
And what's nice about that when you're doing this in Canva is you can make a custom version in Canva. You already have the image sitting there. Make another duplicate of it. I make duplicates on a whole bunch of different ones.
All the time.
With some of the images with the background darker, with the background lighter. You know, I test it on my phone. I test it on my computer. I tested if it's, you know, you do all that sort of stuff. And you also kind of want to make sure that you're sensitive to, which is why I typically use black or white as my text, because I want to be sensitive to people that are colorblind. And I don't want to have a colorblind color sitting next to each other and you're not going to be able to see it. So something very contrasting, which is usually a white image. So I'll use white text with a, you know, whatever kind of crazy image in there. So like, for instance, today we're talking about featured images. And so I went on unsplash.com, which is literally my favorite place to get images. There's 100 other ones that are out there, but I love Unsplash.
It's the best. Yeah. It's the most unstock photo-y.
Yep. And you have to kind of play with it like you're if you're as old as I am, as old as Bridget is. Bridget's much younger than I am, probably. Just kidding. So the idea is that with you, think of the yellow pages. You need to think like the yellow pages were generated by humans and they placed where they wanted to be in the yellow pages. No one else figured this stuff out. The yellow pages person, the person said that they were a pipe engineer instead of a plumber. You're looking under pipe engineers, not plumbers. Well, that's the same problem with Unsplashes. Unsplash, those images are all the tags that are built into those images are made for a person who took that photo and thought this would be a great kind of photo for whatever. So I went in there and started looking for, I wanted something that had different sizes and that was square, different sizes. And I came across these really cool pictures of photo frames. And I was like, these frames are great. This totally explains what it is that I'm trying to achieve here, or trying to, explain here. So I kind of dug around looking for a couple of them, and I found one with just a huge stack of these frames laying there. And you just have to keep playing around with it. I look for photos, look for frames, look for squares, look for boxes, look for shapes. You do all those words to try to find that thing. And that's where I found my image. And I'm like, yes, perfect. That's the image I want to use. I know that there's WordPress plugins that are out there that will do Unsplash searches for you. But really, like, it's like if you're going to write your blog post, you're not going to use, like, you'd probably use something that you're familiar with writing that text. It's either Microsoft Word, Google Docs, whatever it is. Maybe you're not writing it in the post itself, like in the editor, but rather you're writing it someplace else. You're saving the file and maybe you're going to, copy and paste and post it. Think of this as the exact same way. You need to be a little bit of a graphics person to pull this off. And if you're not a graphics person, you're using something like Canva to make you be the graphics person that you want to be. And so by using Canva to kind of come up with this stuff, I've already written my blog post. I've already figured out all the stuff. Now I need to kind of cap it off with an image that really attracts people and really wants them to, want to see this image and read this text. And so I usually and typically will go and find the image after the fact. And I don't use just some image. I use some image with a little bit of tweaks here and there to it, and maybe even straighten up the image or do whatever I want to do to kind of make it look a little different, and also put some text on top of it. So if you go through all this trouble of putting your stuff together, which, for me, I have to get my person to come on the show with me. I need to figure out what the text is going to be. That's usually Bridget. I need to find out what the title is going to be. Bridget again. I need to get all this stuff together. So Jason needs something to do. And so Jason has to make a really good image. And so I make a really good image and multiple copies of it in various dimensions to get it up on the site.
Okay, so Canva.com, Unsplash.com, neither
Yeah.
one of them are sponsoring the show either.
Nope.
I pay for the Canva,
Me too.
$14 or whatever, 12, whatever.
Yep.
And a lot of times I pay for the images because they're just better. Yeah, you can have $1. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
they're
go
$1.
spend $10 on an old fashioned after this. Yes, you can have $1 for this picture for my business. Okay.
Yep.
So since we're promoting Canva, the best thing I like about it is the brands or the
Right.
teams that you have on there. Because guess what? Once I figure out what my colors are and my fonts, and you can upload fonts if you want. Okay, so I have fonts when I did BridgetWiller.com's logo with Sherry and Cheryl LaPrade. They made me a branding package. I have colors, I have fonts, Origima and Leto are my fonts. And I don't remember my hexadecimal colors by heart, but it's like a red and an orange. Okay, so guess what? When I make my images, I alternate between, I like the text at the bottom, but everybody can do it their own way. But I have like a band at the bottom, orange. Next one is red. The next one is orange. The next one is red. So the style and the fonts are staying the same, but it's my block. It's my image, right? Okay, so like you can always tell when it's a WPblab or a WP Watercolor because the branding's the same. So don't just like randomly put crap up there, okay? It's like, think of it like if you did a Google search for BridgetWiller.com and then went to the images, do you see consistency there? Because again, this is what we were talking about last week with the visual consistency, right? Be consistent in the cues that you're giving because you want people to notice that, oh wow, this is something from Bridget, because we are scrolling on our whatevers. We scroll, okay? We're not just looking at stuff. Okay?
Right.
That's the thing. So you have seconds to catch somebody. Oh, look, there's something from Jason. How come I didn't see this? Or something from, whoever. So, okay, let's just do a tiny rant. So this is, I promised a rant. So this is a notepad I got for Christmas. It says, what to get done so I can go get a drink. My friend Julie gave this to me as a prank. It's really funny. But on the back, I'll show you, like, to me, I don't care. You want to say there's no fold? Fine, there's no fold. Be whatever you think. But I'm going to say this is a scroll, okay?
Sure.
Whatever you want to call that. I know everybody has a mobile, whatever. But when I first bring that page up, okay, on your landing page, I want to see some kind of logo. Okay, that's you with your smiley face. That's your logo. Who are you? I want to see menu navigation. I don't care if this is a tired pattern. This is what we're all trained to look for. If it's too complicated to figure out where your menu is, you know what happens? People leave. It's like walking into a house and you don't know where the bathroom is. You don't know where have you ever been to somebody's house for an event that you don't really know them? And they're like, is this a shoe house, a no shoe house? Should I put my stuff down here? Are the purses all somewhere? Do I take my clothes? Or is a party in the backyard and I wasn't even supposed to go into the front in the first place? This is so embarrassing. I don't know how to work this. Nobody likes to feel like that person. Your website should do that. Okay, so then you should have some giant image that's 1,200. Look at Bridget giving information on how to build a website. 1,200 by 628 at the very minimum. If you don't want an image there for some reason, I don't know what it would be, okay? In the back end, tell this website to have a featured image so that when we share your page, or when you share your page, or when your employees or your friends or your third circle customers share your page, that's what shows up on the internet, okay? And so you also want it to have words, so you know that this came from a certain place. If you want to be super fancy, you could put your little funny logo on the picture too, right? So if it's like, buy this thing, then I want to see a button right there. Okay. So I don't care what you say about the fold, no fold. That's a button. Buy it. Buy. Fill out the form, do the whatever. I don't give a crap what happens after this. This is
Right.
all that matters.
Yeah.
You need to have an image and you need to have buy. I don't want to scroll. Okay, so fine. You already sold me somewhere else. Now all I want to do is buy this or find out how much it actually costs. I want it up here. Okay. I don't want to go scrolling. And the worst is like those parallax ones that just keep scrolling like it's like a slinky. Just stop. Okay. So listen.
So what I like about what you're saying about this though is that the featured image thing at the top of the page is, I think of that as a fallback. So for instance, if you're trying to share this on social and that image that you were supposed to have in your OG image fails.
Yeah.
Just straight up fails. Now, when the image gets loaded up, it's going to be the correct image. It's going to be at least something that is of roughly the right size that needs to show up on Facebook or something.
Okay, well, you should, with your Yoast SEO or preferred OG.
Well, this happens on other sites too. So I don't know if you've ever shared. Have you ever shared something off of GitHub? So I know GitHub is not like, why would you share something on GitHub on Facebook? Happens all the time.
All the time.
And guess what happens is Jason's monster size face, because it's the only image on GitHub, because the rest of it is text. Yep. So yeah, if you're going to have a fallback, that fallback is going to be that big image that Bridget's talking about on the top of the page. And there are times where these plugins do fail.
Well, right. But also sometimes people publish and share and then change the image. In which case you need to go rescrape it.
Yep.
Or you redesign your thing and you got to go rescrape it. So what I have come to do before I share images on Facebook now, before I share links, is I just scrape them first.
Oh yeah, you should.
Well, not the Gen Pop isn't going to know that. I don't mean from my website. I mean from anything on any of my client pages.
You being the social media professional that you are, you want to make sure that whatever is going to show up is going to be the one that you are expecting. And when that image was changed because the person who wrote the text put an image in there, they may have tried to share it on Facebook and then they didn't. Now it's stuck in Facebook and Facebook knows that exists. Then you go and put in all your work and all your hard work and you hit share, and guess what happens? It's going to be the old image. And you're gonna be like, what happened? What happened here? What do I need to do to fix this? And that's where you get into a bunch of issues. So for instance, I help manage a pretty large site that has tons of images that are being posted on Facebook as social media, OG images that are happening there. And what happens, those images sometimes get changed. But we have a CDN, we have caching, we have database stuff. Like there's all sorts of places that need to go in there. So you go in there and you clear out your caches, you clear out your stuff with Cloudflare, you do all the stuff you got to do, Max CDN, whoever it is that you're using for your stuff, clear all that out, go into Facebook, click the little arrow thing and tell it to, to go and refresh it. If that doesn't work, then do a quick search for Facebook debugger. And that thing will give you a place where you can put in the URL in there and debug the heck out of that, and hit that a couple times.
Yeah, I hit it several times like I'm an old lady at a slot machine in Vegas. Because you have to do that. And then I do it in the Twitter card validator.
Yep.
So Twitter and LinkedIn kind of go later. LinkedIn has one, but this either way. So the thing is, a lot of times I have quite a few clients now, which is awesome. But also, I find myself saying, oh, yeah, that should be a landing page. Right? And I don't. I feel like a nerd, but it's just another page, whatever. It's another page where it belongs. It doesn't have to be navigable, but whatever this offer thing, event, blah, 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 it's another page. Okay. But so they do that. They build the thing. I go sharing it. There's no image. Okay. So I know sometimes people don't want the image like that. I've had conversations with best friends who don't like it. I want the image. I want to see the image, and I want the image to pull up on Facebook. But like, why do you go build a thing without images on a website? Okay, so I
Doesn't
feel
make sense
like,
to me.
Jason, I feel like you and I could sell a 1-page download of a checklist before you publish on the internet. Have you done these things for 99
Right.
cents? And we could be 100 heirs. Okay.
100 heirs.
Because I feel like people just don't do it.
Yeah, I have a checklist. It used to be a written checklist, is now a mental checklist that I know I have to do these things in order to be able to make something happen. And I have to make sure that I'm going through and making sure that this image is there and that image is there and this looks like this and this looks like that. And if you don't do it, it's gonna look like crap, and you're
We
gonna
could
have
probably do a Google Doc, publish it as a PDF, put it on a landing page at WPwatercooler.com, and put it behind a stripe for 99 cents, and we would sell 10 in the first 10 minutes. Okay?
Yep,
Because that's
I
what
think
people
so.
don't. That's what people don't realize. You're just so obsessed about, oh, I want to have this offer, that you don't even have everything. Would you go camping without a checklist? Well, you might, like I did when I was a kid, and then we always
Right.
forget stuff, and then you're putting potato chips on your eggs because you forgot salt.
Or
Okay,
underwear, or I
whatever.
have a
Like,
whole list of things that
eggs,
I forget.
right? So you have to have checklists if you're not gonna do this. But like, if you're not sure, share it on Facebook. What does it look like? You're fine with that after everything you did for your company or your service, your product. That's what you want it to look like on the internet. Like, that's the last
Yeah.
thing. That's having the right images on your social media posts, on your website that gets shared on social media. It's like polishing your shoes before a job interview, reaching out, shaking your hand, and saying, "Hi, my name is Bridget."
Yeah.
it it's the first touch. Back when we were in the church ministry, we would say, "Oh, it's the children's ministry. The children's ministry is marketing for a church," because the parents drop their kids off before they hear one chord off the guitar or the pastor say one word. If those rooms aren't awesome, if they aren't super clean, if the people aren't super friendly, they're not dropping their kids off. They're not dropping their kids off. You're not getting families. You don't get families, you don't get a good tax base. That's reality. Like, to put it in a super crass marketing perspective, right?
Sure.
But that's the truth. So what do people see first? Before you let them into your world to actually see the product, what they're seeing is something on social media.
Yeah.
So it goes the same for Instagram, and it doesn't have to be linking to your page, but like, you should make something that people can read. I cannot even tell you how many times I see flyers posted as images on Facebook,
Oh yeah.
Instagram,
Oh yeah.
that
All the
were
time.
have a 12-point font on them, that if you handed me an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, I would
Uh-huh.
have a hard time reading it.
Yeah,
That
people
crap,
need to be able to see that as they scroll. And they got to be able to read the majority of it as they're
that's
scrolling it on their
3
phone.
inches, okay?
Yeah.
It's 3 inches.
That's why my
Stop
images
putting
have
so
huge
much
text.
words.
Yeah. Huge text, bare minimum amount of text that explains what it is that you need to do. And that's it. That's
And you
all
know
you
who
need.
does that? Real estate people,
Yeah.
politicians, cities.
Yep.
Cities are bad.
Yeah.
Chamber, anybody with events, they think that they need these flyers. Like, no
Right.
flyer. My one lady will say, "I need you to make me a flyer." I'm like, "You mean email marketing and constant contact?" "Yeah, make me a flyer." That's
Hmm.
not flyers, it's email
Mm-mm.
marketing, right? And you
Right.
don't want it to be one image. You don't want the whole thing to be an image. You want it to be words.
Well, you
So
don't want to call it that either, because now
in her
you're
brain, it's a
applying.
flyer.
Yeah, but you're applying that same logic to the thing by calling it a flyer. Because now you're like, now go pass out the flyers, and you're like, pass out the flyers. No,
Well,
no, no.
she'll
Like,
say, "How come there's not enough images in there?" I go, "The
uh,
more images you put in,
yeah,
the slower it will load, on people's phones. And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't accept images in their emails. So you're wasting your time by doing that, right? So like if you're gonna do images, do them right. And with Canva, again, not a sponsor, there's literally no reason why you can't do a good job.
Sure. Yeah.
It's even the free version. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Like seriously, but for $14 a month, I've heard people complain about like $14 a month. People pay less for their website hosting. So maybe if you're the person who won't spend $25 on a managed WordPress host, maybe Canva is too hard for you. But let's be serious. Like this is your business. Like this is the part of the show I say, now go to your room and think about what I said to you. You know what I mean? Like there needs to be some serious schooling, because it's amazing to me how much people are willing to spend on lots of things. Okay, so I was on a Snapchat filter. It's like, yeah, because I have pretty long eyelashes. Like you can't see because I'm in the dark over here with every light in my apartment on. But I was like, oh, that'd be cool to get fake eyelashes. It's so expensive. It starts at $100. Okay, they glue other lashes onto your lashes one by one.
Right.
And they fall off every night that you go to sleep.
Sure. Okay.
Then you got to do it again every month or every quarter for another $80.
Well, yeah, that's good money right there.
We're in the wrong business. Okay.
That sounds like good money right there.
People spend in one application more on their eyelashes than companies are willing to invest in their website hosting.
Right.
Think about that cool. Right now. Eyelash marketing. Okay. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, like, get these images, care about your business. Like, I feel like I cannot say that enough. Because it's my job to scroll through Facebook and comment as pages that I administer, and there are huge brands just cross-posting.
Yeah.
So like you have places like these giant resorts taking somebody else's photo for one thing, then cross-posting it onto Facebook with all the stupid hashtags.
Right.
You didn't get permission. Okay. I can't believe the Air Tahiti Nui, who has a really good deal right now from LAX to Paris for like $300, can't afford a social media person to spend the extra 40 seconds to post that on Facebook.
Wow.
Okay. It's ridiculous. So I feel like with just 1% more effort to our friends and family watching the WordPress world, I wonder what would happen collectively to our audience. Let's say 10 people are watching this and they all say, okay, I'm going to do 1% better on my own website. I wonder how much better they would be doing financially, emotionally, like, because it gets frustrating when you're you're doing all this stuff and you're trying to get clients, and half the time people just aren't saying that they're doing work or what kind of work they do, or posting anything about what they do or their case studies or anything.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like sometimes we get all like super happy and fun, but like if there was one episode of WPblab where it's like Bridget and Jason preaching our hearts to our friends.
Right.
Seriously, like our friends who have businesses who are really trying to make them go.
And they made the text too big on their image. They make their whatever too big on whatever.
If they do that at all. If they make one at all.
Yep. It ends up being some cutesy image that they stick on the top of the page, and you're like, why did this get picked up? Because you had nothing else for it to choose from that was intentional. Everything was just like accidental, and you're like, great. Why? And I've had this happen. I've even hit up people and said, hey, that thing you just shared, like, where's the image for it? Oh, and then they're like, oh, well, let me try refresh. And so I'm like, no. You have to click the little arrow on Facebook, and then you click the thing, and then you tell it to refresh it. And then like, that didn't work either. And I'm like, well, your image isn't in there. Go look for it. Yeah. I want to say we should transition to tool or tip of the week real quick. Should we do that?
Of course. It's a perfect.
Perfect. So my tool or tip of the week it's something that I've been wanting for a little while, but now it exists, or rather this thing has existed for a little while and I didn't realize it. But there's a software called Yoink, Yoink. And what Yoink is it works on iOS as well as on the Mac. And if you have an older Mac, this might be pretty helpful for you too, because if you don't have the ability to use AirDrop between your Mac and your phone, this will solve that problem. It'll give you the ability to kind of do an AirDrop like thing. But what Yoink is it makes it so that you can it's like a shelf on your computer that you can grab images and files and stuff that you need and drag them over to the left-hand side of the screen, and it just kind of holds them there in like this holding place. And then when you want to use them later, you can go over to the left-hand side, grab them out of that shelf, and then put them on whatever it is you're going to use them for. So for me, for these images I just did for WPwatercooler, or for rather WPblab tonight, I took those images and I dragged them over to that little shelf over on the side on Yoink. They just stay there. It's a little box that just kind of sits there. And then I go about doing the rest of the stuff I need to do. And then when I get to the point where I need those images, instead of me digging through a bunch of folders, I go to that shelf and I grab that image. Now that image still exists where you put it, 20 layers deep in some folder that you have on Dropbox or whatever, but you can still just take that image or the reference of it and just, drag and drop it where it needs to go, and you're done. So Yoink is awesome. Their website is eternalstorms.at/Yoink. And it's a great little piece of software, and I've been using it quite a bit, and I really like it. And they also have it for the iPad as well as the iPhone. So if you're what's nice about that with the iPad and iPhone thing is once you put it in there, you load up Yoink on your phone, and guess what? Those images are sitting there. So it's kind of cool to be able to have those images on both places. There's ways of doing this with Dropbox. There's ways of doing this with, Google Drive and all that stuff as well. But this kind of lets you have that collection, kind of live with it, and kind of put those files where they need to be, and kind of move them around quickly and easily. I really like it. So feel free to go take a look at that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I know I sound like a broken record, but my tool or tip of the week is LinkedIn. Okay. Now, I've been talking about this for a long, long time, back when I was working at Thought House with Jason Knill in franchise development. And they're like, how are we going to get people to want to do this? Well, LinkedIn is where the professionals are. And when you want to have better work, where are the decision makers? As a WordPress developer who wants more work, where are the decision makers? Decision makers are on LinkedIn, and your peers are on LinkedIn. And so it was funny because Gary Vaynerchuk just put out this article that says there's so many different ways to engage. If you leave the best comment on a post, it gets a lot of reach. People will notice, especially if you stay consistent. And I was telling people, just spend time on LinkedIn. And it was funny because that came out last night, and one of my friends was like, oh my gosh, you just told me to do this last week, and I was balking, and I did it. And guess what? I got a request for a proposal from a client that was 20 years old. Well, yeah, because they're there. I mean, so it's like people say, oh, I don't know, LinkedIn, it's just like blah, people I used to work with, nobody I know. Okay, first of all, let's just talk about this for a minute, okay? One of the things we all like about WordCamps the most is the hallway track.
Right. So much so I made a whole show about hallway track.
Right. LinkedIn is the hallway track, okay? LinkedIn is the networking. LinkedIn is where you're allowed to brag that you did a thing. LinkedIn is where you're allowed to, where there's no politics and no stupid games and whatever else everybody's complaining about with the other networks. So guess what? Spend some time on there in the morning, whatever, put it in your workflow. But that's what I told people. Use it on your phone, whatever. Find something to comment on and comment. You don't always have to post about yourself. And so somebody said to me, so I put it on Facebook, and they're like, well, what does that mean? LinkedIn doesn't work for me. I just post all this stuff. But because you just post all this stuff, you have to interact with people. What hallway track is you walking up and down saying, extra, extra, read all about it. I just put a plugin on the repo, extra, extra.
Right.
And you're like, hey, how you doing, Robbie? It's been a long time. How's Beaver Builder going? Yeah, it's good. How's Thailand? Oh, it's good. I love it. Chill vibes, whatever, right? Do the same thing, okay? Spend 5 minutes, 8 o'clock in the morning, put your case studies out there, put them out. I'm telling you, I've been telling people for years and years and years, Gary Vaynerchuk's always behind me anyway. It's just, he's a guy and he owns VaynerMedia. Big deal, just because he has 800 employees. But I'm telling you, this is where people are. And the thing is, don't ignore it. Do not ignore it.
Right. Yeah. Don't ignore it. I mean, I used to joke saying that, LinkedIn was the place that I would update my resume. And the only time I go there is when I'm looking for work or when I just got a job. And when I just got a job, that's the only time that I'm going to go in there and say, okay, here's my job description, copy, paste, plop it in there. Cause I'm never going to remember what my job description was, 5 years later. And so just plop it in there and you're good to go. I think there's more to it than that. And I think really that if you're doing business with people, and you've completed a transaction with them, you should probably hit them up and say, hey, how did that go for you? And do you mind writing a little thing about how, our process was between you and I and how that entire, kind of interaction went? Do you mind, writing a little thing about me? I think it's a great way of capping off the, that entire transaction.
Happy to do that. In fact, you know what I've been doing? I've been going to people's profiles and there's some dots and you press the dots and there's ask for a recommendation and there's give a recommendation.
Yep.
So I've been giving recommendations and guess what happens? You get them back.
Right. Especially if you write a nice recommendation. If you go on Google and you do a search for what's a template recommendation for LinkedIn, there's going to be a whole bunch of them. Don't use any of those. People know that you're using those. And when someone's looking through a recommendation for a person, you don't want to have this like cookie cutter recommendation for that person because they're trying to get a job or they're trying to get work for, some company that's going to hire them for consulting stuff. And they're going to see that 5 of their friends use cookie cutter looking stuff. It's like Yelp reviews. Like people are going to look at this and go like, ugh, like, did they pay somebody to do this Yelp review? Like it literally just has like a couple underlines and somebody just changed the words out in it. Like, don't do that to that person. Cause that person's going to definitely do that to you. If you're not going to spend the 3 minutes to put it in there, it's going to look dumb and you're going to make them look dumb.
Plus a lot of us are speakers and we give away our time for free.
Yeah.
Right. So if you heard a really good talk at a WordCamp, why don't you find that person on LinkedIn and write them a recommendation?
Yeah.
I take those off and I put them on my own website. I don't need WP business reviews because I don't know if LinkedIn's going to stay. I want those words on my website. I don't want an API.
Yeah. 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 Copy and paste straight onto the website. Put a link that goes over to it so people.
I put a link that goes over to their profile.
Yeah.
Forget the actual recommendation. Nobody cares. I'm like, oh yeah, Roy Savon gave me this link. Boom, go hit him up. You know what I mean? Like, go look at that person's profile because it's not always about getting jobs. It's about who you know.
Yeah.
And who you're interacting with and keeping those. It was you that I was talking about. I was like, somebody was saying like, I'm really good at cold calls. No, I just keep everybody warm.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so it's a lot of work, but that's why my clients pay me to do this. So you do not just like, you don't just get me, you don't just get a person touching a phone. You get me and my connections, and all these connections I'm keeping warm. That's what you get when you pay for a really good marketer, right? So that's the thing, is like, if you use your LinkedIn, I know, just I've told some people this, and then you know what I've seen them doing, it makes me sad.
What's that?
They just put stuff in buffer.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine. You should post. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I want to see you commenting. I want to see you commenting on somebody else's, because that is where you get exposure to other people. Because like, you'll see the feed and it'll say, Jason Tucker commented on this, and it's like a company I don't know or a person I don't know. It's like a second, third degree connection, but I can still see it now, right? So if this is like, what if us and our friends, what if just me and you and the 12 people watching this show right now, or whatever, what if we just helped each other out? What do you think would happen if the 14 of us just started commenting for 5 minutes once a day on LinkedIn? What kind of impact do you think WordPress would really get? That's what I'm talking about.
I think a decent impact. And I think by making sure that you're, even the things that you're sharing on there, I post stuff on Facebook that is not very, like, my mom would look at this and go like, that's cool. This WordPress thing has something called the plugin that just came out that Jason's super excited about. But if I go and post that on LinkedIn's gonna, the people that are my peers on LinkedIn are gonna look at it and go, wow, Jason knows something about these particular collection of plugins. This is really cool. Maybe I should look into this a little bit further.
Yeah.
It makes more sense to put them on something like LinkedIn. So if you're going to use either the metaphor of like a category or a custom post type or something like that, LinkedIn is the businessy custom post type to your normal blog.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
So Twitter has its own thing. Facebook has its own thing.
Twitter's like a mix of all of it, but LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is
very specific.
Yeah, it is. And like, just seeing the release candidate for 5.1 email that came out an hour ago or whatever, that'd be good for LinkedIn. And then talking about it, like,
yep,
who's really ready for all these updates that are rolling out every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
That's a good topic for WP Watercooler. But anyway, that's I know it's not like, a lot of times with tools and tips, we want the tool to do the work, but the thing is, like, 5 minutes a day, you could plank for 5 minutes, your arms are going to get super strong. If you could spend 5 minutes on LinkedIn, your reputation is going to get really strong.
Yeah, I would highly suggest, if you haven't watched the particular episode that we recorded, episode number 102, where we talked about we talked with Marcy Masura, a friend of mine, about LinkedIn, why WordPressers shouldn't ignore it. I think you should definitely take a look at that particular episode, and I'll even post on LinkedIn so you guys can go take a look at it, go back and check it out. I think there's some really good info in there, and the type of information that we shared on that particular episode was pretty deep, and I think it's something that you would definitely get some good tips from. So definitely go take a look at that one. And we wrote some good show notes behind it too. So
sure, don't be afraid to roll up your sleeves and do some work.
Yep. Bridget, it's 8:00.
Yeah, we're so good at like just ending it.
Do you want to sign us off?
Sure. Thanks everybody for watching. If you are a listener, you can find us on any available streaming service for your podcast of choice. Again, thank you to serverpress.com for sponsoring the live version of this. If you like this episode, press the thumbs up. If you didn't like it, do it twice. Don't forget to give us a comment on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you are. That's where we are also, because we believe in you. Try LinkedIn, try Yoink, and have a great day, folks. See ya.
Bye-bye.